Hello, good morning, and welcome to Reboot Challenge. In a world of our childhoods being sold back to us, is there no limit to what will be pulled out of the trash heap of history? Join us for pitches large and small that will seek to reawaken your fandom heart without stirring you into a violent backlash. Our judge for today is the awesome and wonderful and other words which he has told me to tell you, Michael Carroll. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm not too bad, James. Thank you. It's good to see you. We haven't met in the real world in a long time, but yes, you're looking well as ever. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. We've got some interesting pictures coming in, I'm sure, and perhaps some of the viewers might want to throw in a few, one-line suggestions here and there to see what we can, chat about at the end. Maybe, what do you think? We'll see what happens.
That sounds excellent. We do have a volunteer
some
in
stuff
the Twitch.
At random. I mean, I do quite like the the idea of Oliver Stone's Magic Roundabout, but I don't know if anybody's actually going to go for that. But that would be quite awesome, We'll finally find out what that sugar lump was all about. But yeah. So I'm content to sit here and make snide comments in the background, as is my want and my right. So if you want to kick us off and see what happens, see who wins. What did they win, by the way? What's the prize?
It's a gentleman's bet, so I believe they win the gentleman.
Oh, excellent. I know just the man.
Clearly got a chance to have our pitch made into reality. So which is probably just as well.
Hey, look, you never know. You never know what little magical person is out there that's going to make it reality.
It would be nice to see.
That's my philosophy on life, just to start us off.
At this point, Netflix may actually be looking at us for more pitches, because they've definitely gone down the barrel at this point. They ran out of cartoon shows, so they made 2 He-Mans in the space of 6 months. 2 different He-Man shows in the space of 6 months.
Right, that wasn't a glitch.
Nope, 2 completely different shows. Second one's great. Skeletor gets on the microphone, goes, "I've got a microphone." It's like, really? All right, go. He's just enjoying himself. So, yes, absolutely do comment in Twitch if you have your own ideas, and we'll have a look at them near the end. So, who wants to kick off first? Who's chomping at the bit to get their idea made?
Wow, sudden rush at the gate there.
Yeah, the enthusiasm is.
We're all being very polite.
Kaaron, how about yourself?
All right. Well, so being Australian, I had to have a little think about any number of Australian children's. So I went with the children's television shows as my option. So any number of them popped into my head. Most of them utterly horrific. Now, I'm a horror writer. I'm a horror watcher. Absolutely love horror. So clearly that's where my pitch is going to go. So we had things like Mr. Squiggle, a puppet with a pencil for a nose, and a terrifying, always angry steam shovel that would scream. And this was like, we used to watch this when I was like 5 and 6 years old, and it would give us absolute nightmares. We had a show called Lift Off, which had this featureless doll. It was like you put your hand in a socket and went like this, and that was the doll, and that was the one we were supposed to sympathise with. But I didn't go with that one. We also had this thing called Mulligrubs, which still gives me nightmares to this day. Now, the spokesperson of this was, I'm not just talking a disembodied face, I'm talking it was just the features. So we had the lips, the nose and the eyes all heavily made up, and she would enunciate like this and tell you things like this. Absolutely horrendous, absolutely horrible. This is what I grew up with. And then there was the Miss Marilyn's Super Flying Fun show, which was like I don't know if she made it over to you or not. I don't think she did. It was on before school, and the people with more relaxed parents, or probably working parents, we were allowed to watch it before school. She would talk, and then she'd show us cartoons, and all the boys were in love with her, and all the girls wanted to be her. But one day, Miss Marilyn, they told us, went off in a hot air balloon, and she never came back. They said she was going on a holiday, and clearly, I don't know, she was probably getting married, went on a honeymoon or something, so she was off rooting or something. I don't know what she was doing. But as children, she went off in this hot air balloon and never came back. But I didn't choose that one either. Because you've never heard of those shows.
So far, we have exactly no context for any of these.
Yeah.
I know. This is why I didn't choose any of them.
We know the film shows. Like we know like Round the Twist, or like we got all of the Australian like kids drama shows. So we have
but not these
Bosco,
ones.
do you
Well,
know any of them? No, sorry. Our
well, I'm not
Antoine expert on
surprised.
shows, Bosco has no idea either.
Hi,
So
Bosco.
that's why I didn't choose any of those, because, you know, it wasn't fair to be me pitching something that you guys have never heard or never seen before. My kids watch and love, but also that terrified them, but they gave me the absolute heebie-jeebies. I actually think it's one of the greatest horror TV shows ever, the Teletubbies. Now, I've given you all instant earworms, haven't I? I've actually given it to myself. We just had to watch that show on repeat constantly. Now, I know there was apparently a reboot in 2015, which I've heard about, but I think it's right for a horror reboot. And I'm thinking Elvira, Mistress of the Dark style, where each of the Teletubbies has their genre of horror movies or horror TV shows, and they introduce us to those movies. So Tinky Winky absolutely loves ghost stories, so we get the ghost story movies from them. I'm not sure about genre, so we're going to say them. Dipsy, the Black and White Hat, all that sort of stuff. So we're talking the classic horror, black and white horror. Torture porn without a doubt in my mind, and Poe, also classic horror, but more your vampires, your werewolves, and your zombie variations. So that's my pitch, because after all, we don't know who's inside these suits. So, for example, a friend of mine, and I'm going to mention another Australian TV show none of you have seen, Humphrey B. Bear, but a friend of mine did a stint in the Humphrey B. Bear suit. He was another terrifying 15-foot tall, hairy bear thing with no pants that we were supposed to be attached to, but we were all terrified of. He did a stint inside one of those suits, and he said it stank of old man alcoholic. I think it was Bundaberg rum, he said specifically, was what this suit smelled like. So what if the suit grows onto the wearers, or perhaps there are no wearers at all? Who is the wearer and who is the wearee is what I'm saying. So I think, and apparently a spokesperson for the show, who actually, this is a real quote, she said, as far as we are concerned, they are real. So what I want is the Teletubbies introducing horror movies in their own particular style. That's my pitch.
So, Mike, how does anyone want to comment on that before we actually go to the judge?
Yeah, I'm going home now because I want to see this myself. I think we're done.
I know. I started off being funny. I'm like, no, I want to see this.
The vocalization of the Teletubbies is very limited, though, so their ability to be horror hosts is quite low.
Have you seen the right on YouTube? Somebody did a Teletubbies intro, but it's in black and white, and it's got Joy Division and it's got a Joy Division song on it.
Oh my gosh!
The bleakest thing ever. They can totally do horror.
Okay.
I did see that. I had forgotten. I did absolutely see that. It's probably what's seen it way back in. They totally can. And maybe they need subtitles. Maybe it's just all in mime, because mime is horrifying too, as we all know. So, yes.
So, Mike, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's the Teletubbies are automatically terrifying and scary anyway. I mean, for a start, the sun as a baby and all that weird psychedelic stuff. I think it's an awesome idea. As James said, the vocalizations will be a problem, but I do like the idea of the Teletubbies looking kind of as they do with the fixed faces, but the voice comes from somewhere. It's a clipped, crisp British BBC announcer type tone announcing the stories. I just think that could be quite awesome. And then, of course, you have one of them who talks like, I don't know, I think anything inappropriate, like an old Westy type voice coming out of nowhere, could be really creepy. It depends on how it's done, but yeah, I like the idea of that each one of them is a kind of the equivalent of Marvel's Watcher, you know, with their relation to the horror universe that they're only witness to because of the way the Teletubbies work, and they have the tellies going on. To be honest, I never saw the original show because it wasn't really on when I was a kid, on account of how I'm 55, but it's creepy as anything anyway. So it's an awesome idea. Right.
And I really like those. I love the fact that they were so specific in their personalities. They had a different color and a different size and a different little thing that they had with them. So I feel like we could play a lot with that along the way.
We really missed the opportunity to hear Vincent Price's Poe.
Yeah, well, that's just it. Yeah, I did as one of my spoof pictures years ago, Tinky Winky, Dipsy Lala, and Poe with the other kind of Poe. But I do like that. And of course, we get back to the whole debate of whether one of them was supposed to be gay, and there was a whole furore over that. Does anybody remember that?
The one carrying the handbag was supposedly some kind of secret message
Yeah, that's what
Right.
it was.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Secret
Yes.
message.
Yeah. Because kids are so good at picking up on that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's right. And careless, like obviously.
Yeah.
The thing I did find out when I was Googling all of this is that the Tinky Winky actually froze to death in an alcoholic stupor. No, I don't know if you all know that. I mean, the person inside the suit, not the Tinky Winky, which is pretty tragic.
Yeah.
They didn't. They still filmed 4 more episodes and nobody knew. Yeah.
No, that's
The
right.
suits are animatronic and the people inside are just there to keep them upright.
Tubby
So,
tired.
There are several horror movies in this.
Yeah. We have our first question from the chat. Jane Moutley is asking, Teletubbies introducing zombie movies as they rub their tummies?
Yes, exactly. Wouldn't that be great? And because
Tubby hunger.
They've got their little TVs in their tummies is the thing that set me off on this. And that was, it used to drive me crazy because my son, there's one that had a digger and he wanted to watch it over and over and over again. But their little tummies, and they rub their tummies and the little movie comes up.
So can the Teletubbies, can they watch their own tellies? Because they'd be upside down if they were.
Oh, yeah. No,
I don't know. I've never really seen it.
It's within them and they're showing it to us. So they embody the concepts that are being presented.
They show us a picture of, say, a brain after they'd rubbed it, and suddenly they're hordes of their zombie hordes.
But it was always live action.
Oh.
It was always live action footage. So maybe it's a door to another reality or a perception.
That's the reality in which. That's awesome.
I love that.
Right.
This is a brilliant idea.
Aldous Huxley's Teletubbies.
I was going to give it a appeal and see what he does with it.
Okay, I have to say that's a very strong opener, Kaaron. That's yeah.
It would be hard to beat that.
Oh well, I'm sure you can do it. I can't wait to hear what you come up with.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see. Who wants to try and follow that? Russell, how about yourself?
I have struggled with this, and I'll tell you. I'll run through I will run through the reasons why. Well, it's very simple. Most of the things that I thought might be pitched have either been done or are being done. So
this is not why it's reboot fun time. It's called Reboot Challenge.
Yeah. So I don't know. So I started with Gem and the Holograms. Already been a movie of that. So yeah, that's out.
They already had Gem and or Holograms.
Although they need to make sequel. They were teasing at the end because Kesha as Pizzazz is just needs to happen. I was going with the first thing the very first thing I thought of after that was Mask. It's taking on the IDW style, but then I've seen that F. Gary Gray is supposed to be directing that, so no worries there. I then wanted to see The Craft with Nancy in the style of Cobra Kai. So Nancy's like it's like the lead there, but a lot of years on. But again, they've done a sequel, so ruined. I thought of The Last Dragon, but then I realized that this is so centered in the 80s, and there are all of 3 people who have seen it. James is one of them. Is on this channel, so we'll go with that. But it's so firmly an 80s thing, it must never be out of there and should never be rebooted. So I'll ignore. So I'm steering past that.
Okay.
Robin of Sherwood. Every Robin Hood since wants to be that, so I'm going to leave that. So I'm going to leave that well alone. Which leaves me only with The Professionals. Which is like 70, which is 70s action series, because and of course at a time where the TV shows seem to be just sort of violent as hell for the sake for the sake of it.
That's good times.
But yeah, Brian, I don't know. It's not like we can dig Brian Clemens back onto the job, so I'm not sure who we get now. I subsequently found out that this also did have a reboot back in the 90s, but of course it was in that void. It was in that pit.
The reboot is fascinating. Lexia Doug, I think, is the only actor you'd know out of it. Everyone else looks like they're out of a model catalog, and barely makes an impression.
Now I see why they went yeah, and I'll see why they went that direction, because you know there was the whole thing of Shaw and Collins looking, you know, having that rugged modelling look about them, but that's
tight jeans.
Yeah, tight.
For the boys and girls at home, The Professionals is a British crime television series. It's produced by LWT. It aired between 1977 and 1983,
Check that out.
it was
Facts.
very cool.
Yes.
It was trying very hard to be very cool for boys. All the boys wanted to be in The Professionals, and they called it CI5, The Professionals, because they didn't want to call it MI6 or MI5.
Yeah.
So it's a somewhat paramilitary police force, and they're the good guys.
Yeah,
espionage.
Well, this is it. I wanted to spin. So yeah, this is where this is where the reboot comes in, because you can't do it like that, and nor should you.
It's also the CI, by the way, apparently stands for Criminal Intelligence 5, which does rather sound like they're on the wrong side.
Yes.
There's where I'm. This is it. This is where my pitch was leaning.
Okay, sorry, I'm stepping all over your pitch. Please.
No,
so how do you bring back
fine.
a show about leaping across bonnets of cars in very tight trousers?
Oh well, that bit's easy. The leaping in front of the leaping on cars is fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure we need to go with very tight jeans in the. I don't know what people wear these days. I'm the absolute opposite of a dedicated follower of fashion. I pick up t-shirts, as you can see, and yeah.
Oh, you've got poo all over your shirt. Sorry.
What the hell?
Sorry, Russell, go ahead. Sorry.
What video are you seeing that we're not seeing, Michael?
Anyway,
moving swiftly along.
Yes. So, I mean, as you could probably tell from Tidy Towns yesterday, I know that we can. I know that, you know, we've got some budgetary help, because we tell Ford about this, and they'll be right on it. What? Yeah, here, have our new cars. That's fine. So yeah, Focus ST straight in. Right, brilliant. We got the car sorted. That's the main part of the casting we need to. That's the main part of the casting we need to do. So
the car has to be cool. That's the anchor. That's the anchor actor. Absolutely, is the car. But not the replacement for Gordon Jackson as the dour Scottish man saying,
Mark Strong. I've already thought of that. It's got Mark Strong.
Okay.
There's no question about that. It is Mark Strong.
And he did an excellent turn in the second Kingsman movie. Yeah. I say going out singing while standing on a grenade, singing while standing on a landmine was an amazing scene.
Yeah. Now the other two, I'm much more open to casting with.
Jason Statham. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. Clive Owen and Jason Statham. There you go.
Shaw and Collins were known for their hair. Collins had the wet look down perfect, and Shaw had the perm. He had a proper, lovely, bouncy, full perm.
Now here's a question: do we reboot it, but still set it in the 70s, or a world that hasn't moved on from
that's I think that's the best way to do that. Yeah.
In which case, yeah, okay, we've got to do that, and you know, which lends to a lot of comedy in itself. But yeah, sorry, back to your original thing, which gives us the other option. Do set it in the modern day, but yes, CI5, Criminal Investigation 5. Yes, it's more
Criminal Intelligence.
This is a great time for it. It's a very Who Watches the Watchers kind of thing with it, where you know, they're just constantly hunting. They're just constantly hunting down various dodgy things they see in the with government officials, and also their own police. Nobody should know CI5 exists until you have a Fiesta ST bearing down on you on a road somewhere. And they're
The
like,
scale-
well, how do you know what we're doing? Which,
The scale of crime is kind of an interesting one, because the scale of crime, I remember vaguely in the original, the scale of crime was actually quite shallow. So the scale of crime now would be very different. So the original was, I think they did stories about lads who are robbing banks, did stories about kidnappings, about robbing banks, or kidnappings, more robbing of banks, more kidnappings. That's roughly the area they operated in.
So we start with a bank robbery, but it's not as simple. But it's not as simple as all that. It's been set up by set up by somewhere as a the fairly usual thing of the fairly usual thing of a military department considered underfunded or something. So what they've in fact done is decided to do some. It's got to be a far-fetched enough plot that
the skill of the average criminal has definitely
to be asking questions about what's going on. It's just like, well, wouldn't they just trace them?
You're also running into a skill problem where the skill of the average criminal has definitely decreased since the 1970s, because the two actors in the show were ex-army, I believe, and they ran into you run into a problem now where people don't know how to do as much. People aren't actually robbing as many banks as they used to.
What about if you start with like a reality show, like an SAS reality show, and that's where you get your cast from?
That's very clever.
Wouldn't that be cool?
So what you're saying is Ross Kemp is going to be our chief recruiting officer. There
you go.
In fact, work, especially if Kemp is playing himself and doesn't actually know what he's and doesn't actually know what he's recruiting for. He thinks it's prize money, and what they're in fact doing is, congratulations, you now work for
That's
for us.
it. I love it, because I love your twist. I love the twist that you've come up with for it. But I reckon that might be good.
You have sold me on that with Martin Kemp doesn't know he's in a TV show. That's brilliant.
Oh.
To throw another little twist into it, when we were kids, we thought it wasn't CI5, we thought it was CIS. So SITS professionals is a whole different ballgame nowadays, because we didn't have that word back in the day. So I think it's a good idea. Do you remember Life on Mars?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Gene Hunt's character was taken directly out of the idea behind the hardcore 70s policeman.
Very much the Sweeney. Yeah, very much the Sweeney.
Because I grew up watching all of those shows. You guys are way too young. So they were the norm. And then all of a sudden things like The Bill came along, where the police officers were supposed to be nice and stuff.
And they followed pace regulations.
Yeah, they have not run down the road after a bus that's filled with terrorists and hand grenades and hostages or whatever it was that they've done. But yeah, I think Reboot Professionals could really, really work as a TV show. I wouldn't want to see it done as a movie the way we did the Sweeney a few years ago, Ray Winston. No disrespect to Ray Winston, I love him, but the film didn't have.
It wasn't. It was a decent film, but it wasn't Sweeney.
Exactly. Yeah, it wasn't tough enough.
It didn't need the it didn't need the label. They could have called it something else.
Did it at least have the theme tune? The Sweeney. I
don't remember if they probably had a rap version of it, I would imagine, But it did have Hayley Atwell as the what was her name? Token woman. And she was actually really good in it, but nevertheless. Yeah.
And now everyone's going to go and watch it.
I think it's worth watching. Just file the name off and something else, and you're fine.
There was definitely a slew of reboots of 70s stuff. I mean, we Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson did the Starsky and Hutch, which is a movie that's way better than it should be. It's really annoying.
They took way better than the show. Yeah. It's like what? No, relax, chill, guys.
Yeah.
No, stop.
They took absolutely the right route with that and made it and just decided to spoof it. If they'd have gone serious, it was no way it would have worked. But
exactly,
that was perfect.
It was a watershed in cop shows where men were allowed to cry on cop shows, because before that it was very much Joe Friday and Dragnet, and things were quite serious. Like ridiculously serious. being the age I am, I saw Dragnet the wrong way around. I saw the 80s version with Dan Aykroyd, the comedy version, before I saw the original version on TV. And so when I saw Dragnet come up, I called my brother and said, no, come in. This is really funny. And so we sat there as Joe Friday went through Just the Facts Man for like 10 minutes. Is like, is there like a really big payoff coming? Like, where's the jokes?
I really want to see RuPaul's Dragnet. I mean, that would be awesome.
No.
Fashion crimes.
Oh.
I can't unsee this.
Russell can be the judge of that one.
Yeah.
We've a question from Patner in the chat. Does anyone remember Swiftly?
No, I remember Softly.
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
You've stumped us. Well done. You win a prize. I don't know what that prize is, but you can decide to yourself and give it to yourself.
I remember Soldier, but
yes.
And that was definitely not getting a reboot. And I will, if you want to hear me go on about that, that's a whole other panel. So.
So CI5, The Professionals, starring Ross Kemp, who doesn't know that he's in a TV show.
Martin Kemp.
Sorry.
There's important differences.
Martin Kemp hunting down Ross Kemp, who neither are in a TV show.
Having Mark Strong playing the Gordon Jackson character is genius.
Yeah.
He's perfect casting. Yeah.
And as for who takes the Bodie and Doyle positions, because they don't have to, they don't have to be white guy with perm. And so I don't know.
We can give perms to everybody.
We should leave that until after the pilot episode when Kemp has actually done the recruitment, because that's going to be the first. That's going to be the first thing. So we have a load of potential.
So there's a perming ceremony where they get crowned the professional.
Okay, so yeah, that's the prize.
And the music, like the lights dim, the music plays. Dun, 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 dun. And of course it's all done in silhouette from the side, so you're seeing the hair get larger and larger.
Oh my god.
With the important post credits, once it's done, Mark Strong turns up Jackass style with a set of clippers, and he just says, "You're getting one of these."
If they fail, they get sheared, and that's how they know they're out of the show. So, how do you feel that we've explored the professionals to as much as you want, Russell?
I am satisfied with our care.
Okay, Mike, thumbs up or thumbs down on the professionals?
Very much thumbs up on that. I think I'm actually kind of shocked it hasn't really been done, apart from the '90s reboot. The
90s reboot was so bad. I like that is the reason it hasn't been done.
Yeah, maybe that's just muddy the waters there and peed in the gene pool there. But yeah, I think it's a great idea. But it needs to be done really, really, really properly. It has to be these guys who are hard as nails, and then of course with some twists to turn it around. But yeah, lovely idea.
We have a point from Nathan Films in the chat. Would it be like the Darth Vader helmet scene with the perm being slowly lowered to special chamber?
No.
Just as before we leave it, the reboot version of the Professionals in the '90s had an episode where they go to Africa and they fight poachers. They did not go to Africa. The entirety of Africa is represented by very grainy stock footage, and they're inside of a Jeep in Africa, or they're inside of a helicopter with a sniper rifle in Africa. It is the most spectacularly bad thing. I very much encourage anybody who loves bad TV to go seek that out.
So now I want Ashley Williams, formerly Asher D. I want him to be one of the cast members now, so he can just, and what they have is like what they do is a bit of your smish.
Oh dear,
it's freezing. He's frozen.
That's just really crap footage, isn't it?
You dropped out a little bit there, so I think GCHQ is onto you, and they don't like your suggestion.
Well,
what was your last suggestion there?
No, I was just saying, yeah, like you just get someone and just looks at that and goes, you just did that in a film set, didn't you? just that whole episode. It's like whereas Mark Strong as Cowley is seriously trying to sell this as a previous mission that they did, and then just insistent on it. Oh no, it says so in the files.
That's it. This is the file footage from the previous mission. It's like that's fake. But everyone's treating it seriously. Okay, so let's move on to Quinn. What is your idea for a reboot challenge?
My idea is another TV show, so it's in keeping with all of this. But I'm going to take you back in time, before the Normans and the Christians, back to the time of the Druids, and when stealing cows was our national pastime. I want to bring back the mystic knights of Tir na Nog.
Ooh.
For people who don't know, can you let people know what the original was, or do you want me to fill in for them?
No, the original was Fox's answer to the Power Rangers. It involved a Irish coded land, but that wasn't technically Ireland, where the evil Queen Maeve tried to take over the country, and the King of Kells, Concobar, sent out his druid to find the hero to save the earth, or at least Kells, and 4 people were put to the test and given the powers of the elements.
Now, the problem here, Quinn, is that the way you've explained that sounds awesome.
It does sound awesome.
And
it sounds so good.
The DNA of this is for people who don't know, tokusatsu shows are a genre of show in Japan which are basically referred to as special effects shows. They're mostly made for children. They have an awful lot of toys are produced along with the show. The show runs for like 26 episodes, and that's it, because they've sold toys that year, and they need a new show for new toys. So tokusatsu comes to the West through the form of Power Rangers, which is Haim Saban, who would do the music for a lot of kids cartoon shows, saw these shows as an advertiser conference, and then brought Power Rangers to the West, where they take the footage of people in, and then they hire some American kids to redo the storyline in between the suits fighting. They were made so cheaply that they did not actually have the costumes for the American kids in the first season of Power Rangers. So when it's morphing time and they change, that's the exact point where the footage changes over. And one of the Rangers actually changes their gender presentation because the Yellow Ranger Trini is a man in the original footage for Power Rangers. Now, Power Rangers is a massive success. And the reason I bring this up is because they come to the realization that, well, we can just film our own footage, can't we? And so there is the decision is made to make a Celtic themed Power Rangers, but with no Sentai footage. So it's written like a Power Rangers episode. It has all of the depth and cultural care of a Power Rangers episode applied to Irish culture. And that's the pigeonhole. If a pigeonhole is forming in your head of this won't be good, I assure you it's worse than you think.
I disagree. I loved it as growing up. I was one of the target audiences, and I adored it in all of its cheesy goodness. And to be honest, my pitch, I think we need to keep the cheese.
Excellent.
To embrace how chaotic it was.
Same amount of cheese or higher cheese content? How do you mix the cheese in this? Do we have different types of cheese mixed together, or do we just give the same rich cheese in a similar fashion?
I think we need to present a cheese board. We need to let people pick and choose what they want. And I think we need to mix in far more Celtic elements. Irish history is so chaotic in and of itself. We need to just bring it all back and let it be as confusing as the original Mystic Knights was.
Diarmuid agus Grania like barreling their way through, drinking and fighting and other F words.
I don't know. I'd like to change the bad guy, but that's because I'm from Sligo.
I'm quite open to that. I was thinking we might do Balor of the Evil Eye.
Yeah.
And let's get the Fomorians involved.
That's something I wanted to do for a while.
But Balor represented fully by a rubber suit that's standing over a tiny Cranog model.
Mockness still have the giant puppets.
Absolutely. I think that's all good. And I think our first season needs to deal with the tainted werewolf Cuchulainn.
This is way too hard for me. I'm just going. See, I've never ever heard of this until now. Pardon me if I've been distracted. I've been looking it up on Google there. Those search engines are available, and this was real. Hang on a second. I've got
the thing to Google is if you go to YouTube and look for Toy Galaxy Celtic Knights of Tir na Nog, or just go Toy Galaxy Celtic Knights. There's an excellent breakdown of the visuals and the history of it.
Yes. Toy Galaxy.
Wow, I'm massively impressed that this thing even exists without me knowing about it. I'm not that it did. They need to run by me, but I'm going. How did I not hear of this? But
it's kind of half Power Rangers.
RTE too.
Half Power Rangers, half Visionaries.
Yes.
Sold.
Yeah.
I love it.
And for me, I thought it was quite impressive that we had an African prince who was part of the Mystic Knights of Tir na Nog, showing the inclusivity for everybody.
Absolutely. I love it.
Blown away by this.
This needs to happen. There is so much scope for this to be awesome.
Quite honestly, if nobody picks it up, I'm going to write a book about it.
Please do. Even if they don't pick it up, write the book anyway, because you might get given a season.
I think it's fair to say that this is roughly a thumbs up from you, Mike.
Absolutely. I'm still amazed that this happened. Admittedly, the whole Power Rangers thing kind of passed me by anyway, again because chronological reasons. In fact, I was too old for that show. But it's wow, this is awesome. I really want to see this now. But more than anything, I want to see a rebooted version that says it's really dark, gritty, powerful drama, but very much done on the cheap. It has to be all filmed in one location where they just, move the furniture around and people are wearing different hats to pretend they're different actors. I think this would be great.
I want stunt performers in rubber suits kicking over Cranog models. That's what I want.
Honestly, to top it all off, the Fomorians have to have that really weird American Irish accent of today. And then, of course, we have the Mystic Knights with a perfectly normal Irish voice.
Excellent.
Yes.
Mike has the Mystic Knights behind him now.
I'll move to the side a bit so you can see what they look like. Because I'm not allowed to share screens on this. So
a less than fun fact is that, as you see on the left-hand side, is the Black Prince from a Distant Land, as he's described on the pack. On the show.
This one.
No, the other side. Yeah.
Blue. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he isn't black in the toy.
Oh!
Because the toys are designed way in advance of the show, so they had no idea.
In which case, by the golden rule now, you have to reboot it just to make sure you get it right.
That's
and the merchandising.
Yep.
The merchandising possibilities, just imagine.
I seriously want one of those uniforms right now,
So, Cherry, we come to you now in our last 10 minutes. What is the idea? Can you we've had the Teletubbies horror reboot.
Any of that.
Of course you can, you're a genius.
I've done a couple of these, and a lot of shows I used to talk about have been done. I was thinking like the Mortal Kombat TV series, that's been redone brilliantly.
The movie this year was like way better than it deserved to be.
Yeah. But that's coming off the Mortal Kombat Legacy series that's on YouTube and stuff like that. They did a really good job of that. So that killed my usual thing. then like there's Blake 7, but about every 3 years there's a rumor going around that they're actually going to reboot it. So that might actually happen. So I think that's out for the purposes of the challenge. Space Above and Beyond was also on my list, but I think the problem would be they'll end up just going back over the territory Battlestar Galactica covered.
Space Above and Beyond got 1 season on Fox, and it deserved exactly 1 season on Fox. It's one of the very few shows I shed no tears for, because if I have to hear that feckin' tape recorder again, the hero of the show loses. He sneaks onto a rocket ship going to space, and as he's snatched away from his girlfriend, she pulls the picture frame she was wearing like a necklace, and it's like a pretty big bulky object. She pulls the picture frame she's wearing like a necklace. She presses a button on the side and says, "I love you," and chucks it at him as he's being pulled away by the guards. He grabs it out of midair while 2 men are restraining him and pulling him off the gantry as the rocket launches. They're definitely dead, by the way, if you understand anything about rockets and physics. And for the rest of the show, we hear, "I love you. I love you." And it is the most frustrating thing in the world. Also, it's a show where they had these beautiful, amazing visual effects for fighters, because they're a set of Marines, and they very rarely use the planes after the midpoint of the show, where they're starting to really run out of money. So it's an awful lot of, we're sitting in a room talking about the war happening just outside this bunker. You could save yourself a lot of time and just read the Red Badge of Courage, because it'll be read to you a lot if you watch that show.
Yeah, so because the things at childhood, I went back to kind of one of the, if not the very first sci-fi show I saw, which was Sapphire and Steel.
Ooh.
Now,
so what was Sapphire and Steel for the kids at home?
Well, before I explain that, let me explain one that ran from 1979 to 82, and RTE, for some reason, they still do this to like really good sci-fi shows, stuck it on and that just before the afternoon chat show. So little Jerry is sitting there watching cartoon. Oh, cartoons are over. What's this? And Sapphire and Steel came on, and it's one of those old BBC sci-fi things that relies heavily on kind of the atmosphere rather than actual effects. So the notion is the heroes are interdimensional energy beings, and they're visiting various points in Earth's timeline to try and make sure the timeline goes they want. And there's also bad guys coming down to make sure the timeline doesn't go the way those guys want. And it went from everything to stopping bombs to making sure 2 people weren't rude to each other at a dinner party.
What?
Yeah, just stop these 2 people having a row. And because from that row, you may be unaware, but a lot of our science developed from 2 people getting really grumpy with each other.
Yeah,
it's like you go. It is. It's like it's amazing. I was visiting a museum. Oh, that this happened here because that guy got grumpy with that guy, and you go around, and half the inventions are like these 2 people had a row about whether or not this could be done, so this guy went and did it.
Before someone mentions it in the chat, it was produced by ATV for ITV. Because my brain went, that's not BBC. That's definitely not BBC.
It was.
There is actually, and to go with your theme of all your ideas have been redone. From 2005 to 2008, Sapphire and Steel returns to the series of audio dramas produced by Big Finish Productions, starring David Warner and Susanna Harker as Sapphire and Steel, which is a hell of a casting set.
Yeah. Oh no, it had an amazing, like Philip Hammond and people like that in the TV show. I didn't count the audio one because it's not a TV.
Yeah.
So, how would you bring it back? What differentiates it from the original?
Right. I think for a start they screwed up.
Okay.
I think we'll just take the last, we'll say 5 years.
Yeah.
So your basic impression is how beings broken the timeline, just point directly at everything.
Yes.
Yeah. First Lemmy died, and then everything went downhill, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First mission, save Lemmy.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Lemmy saved David Bowie, saved George Michael. Yeah.
I would very easily believe that David Bowie's death was because of fifth dimensional energy beings rather than cancer. I would very easily believe that.
Or he was recruited into the ranks.
Yeah, exactly.
His whole career has just been training for this one job. But it was good, and it's like they didn't have to look the same because they're energy beings, so you could switch out actors and stuff like that. So it give room for guests and things like that. But the other thing is you could be going. They could, yeah.
That's an idea, an anthology series where like every season you have different Sapphire and different Steel, and so you're not as tied to they have to be on the one show for 5 years.
Yeah. Because they're energy beings, so what form they take shouldn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so 1 week it could be James and Rose. Next week it could be Kaaron and Michael. You know, it's
and it will be.
It's they're a lot better at writing.
Or you could have a couple of things going at once. And then like the end of the series, you find out how all these apparently separate missions all tied together. And do they or do they not stop it?
Well, that's engaging as all hell to me anyway. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I think that's well, see, I know Jay for years, and I know how smart he is. That I'm pretty sure I come up with that ages ago. No, that's not right. So I do think
for legal reasons, yes.
They successfully brought back Doctor Who. I think that not bringing back Sapphire and Steel is a crime for which only Sapphire and Steel will be able to solve. It's a great idea. Yeah. I mean, I remember at the time, I loved the show. A couple of years back, well, about 10 years ago, myself and Leonie got the I think it was a box set of all the episodes. And I made it through the first serial, and after that went, no, life is too short, because it was of its time. It was slow and ponderous, and lots of lingering shots of someone pouring tea and things like that. But the basic idea was that they had to right all the wrongs in the paranormal scene, because it was ghost stories as well as science fiction things, as far as I remember. Very clever. Yeah, I think it'd be mad not to bring it back. I mean, even as it was incredibly iconic with Joanna Lumley and David McCallum. But you could still have Joanna Lumley playing Sapphire. She played Sapphire, didn't she? Yes. And I mean, she's still awesome. So why bring it back with? It could be Sapphire and Sulfur or some other element. It doesn't have to be Steel if David McCallum doesn't want to do it.
Sulfur would actually make for a great master type villain to go up against.
So I think it's a very, very strong idea. Yeah, wow. I seriously want to watch actually all of these right now, but that one in particular is right up my street. Well done.
So out of all of the pitches we've heard today, from horror Teletubbies to the horror of Mystic Knights of Tirnanog, from CI5 The Professionals, a semi-reality show where some people don't entirely know that they're not catching real criminals, all the way to the boundless universe of Sapphire and Steel. If you were forced by me conversationally to choose a winner out of this set, which do you think you want the most out of all of these?
Okay, well, I have to say they are all very strong. They are very strong pitches. I'm going to pick them off one by one. Russell's bad news: The Professionals isn't science fiction. This is a science fiction convention. So much as I really, really do want to see, especially Mark Strong playing the Cowley character, I'm going to have to put that one aside for now.
That's fine. I would use I would possibly put it in the put it in the category of sci-fi, especially when I finish with it. But anyway,
no, if we were to tie in The Professionals with another Brian Clemens show, like say The Avengers, then we're talking. But
actually, maybe this is the solution. If you have Sapphire and Steel turn up on the Avengers who team up with The Professionals.
That's of course the British Avengers, of course, not the Marvel.
Oh yes.
But I think actually we could then from that aspect we could have all of these stories presented by the Teletubbies, who were showing us different aspects of reality. I think that would work really well, because there's no way that the Mystic Knights of Turnanog actually existed in this universe. You guys, so
I don't know. Fifth dimensional energy beings, Mystic Knights of Turnanog, that seems to match perfectly.
It does feel like we planned all this, doesn't it?
we are sadly out of time. That's all the time we had for Reboot Challenges today. I'd like to thank our judge, Mr. Michael Carroll. That's the website you can find his work at. I'd like to thank all of our submittees of the reboots, from Kaaron to Jerry, Russell, and Quinn. This has been a hell of a good time. Thank you all so much for bringing your talent and creativity. This has been Reboot Challenge. Thank you all for coming.
Yay, thank you.
Thank you.
Telly bye, or whatever it is they say.